I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it transparent. And I realize that this may go against traditional thinking. I realize it may ruffle some feathers, but I promise if you hear me out, I do believe it may encourage somebody today, because we cannot expect people that are far from God to live in such a way like they're living next door to God. Okay? It's an area of my life that I used to struggle with in my walk with the Lord. And I'm just being transparent with you because it may help somebody. And I know I'm not alone, because I see many people in the church today that struggle with it. When somebody that's lost, somebody that's far from God, says something like a 4-letter word, or has habits, or lives in such a way that's contrary to our own conviction, we get really offended and worked up and mad. And I was having one of those moments a few years ago. And I wasn't saying anything out loud, but I was really struggling with it internally. And it was like the Holy Spirit said, hold up, Brian, listen. Do you remember what you used to say and how you used to act when you lived far from God? And I said, we ain't here to talk about me. And it was after that I began praying this prayer. God, change me to have the mindset of Jesus. Don't allow me to allow religion to influence my decisions and how I respond. Don't let tradition of man overcome the mindset of Jesus. And so I began praying that prayer. Earlier this year, I was given a test from the Lord. And I know it was a test from the Lord because I had a piece of equipment that I own break down. And there's a few people locally that can fix it, but they were all backed up for like months. I had one choice if I was going to go with somebody that was less than an hour away from me. And I took it to that person. I had never had any business dealings with this person. I had never even met this person, and they had never met me. Well, I picked up within about 5 seconds that they really liked 4-letter words, especially the F one. Now, that goes against my way of communicating, but it doesn't his. And he also carried on with some other conversation, and I was feeling tension. I was like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? And it was like the Holy Spirit said, hold up, let's allow me to do the work here. And so I decided that my equipment hadn't broken down by accident, that it was a divine accident. And I was being connected to this guy for a reason. And I said, God, I could come back with him with swift judgment and criticism, or I could love him like Jesus. And loving him like Jesus is hard. See, the church, we want to be the light, but we don't want to be the light in a dark place. We just want to go light up a place that's already lit. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying that it's really comfortable shining our light in a church where there's a bunch of lights. But what's hard is when God calls us to be a light in a place where church doesn't exist. Whew. And that's what God called me to do. So I began praying for his soul. I began praying for him. And I went out of my way over the course of 2 months to get this piece of equipment fixed. Every week, and sometimes multiple times a week, I'm talking to this guy. And he was using those words and everything else. In the meantime, we're getting to know each other. He knows my likes, my dislikes, and everything else. But he was welcome to be himself. Do you know that when we closed out that transaction that day, he never, in 1 hour, never said one swear word. And do you know that he actually opened up and talked about the Lord? And he had a lot of past hurt. And do you know that he had went out of his way to buy me a gift because he discovered I like to fish? And he gave me some fishing tackle. That is a work that God can do through all of us. Church, it's easy to go be a light in a place that's got a lot of light. But perhaps God is calling us to go be a light in a place that makes us uncomfortable. And you know what? I will line up and do that every day of the week because of what God has done in me. And I'm thankful that now I'm not being persuaded by religion or legalism, but I'm being persuaded by the Spirit of God to teach me to be more like Jesus. Love you guys.